So Star Renegades has an interesting premise. It says, let me give you traditional turn-based tactical gameplay and then combine it with the Nemesis system. Oh, and by the way, I'm also a roguelite. Now this is a very ambitious blend. On this channel, I usually answer questions, and in this case, the game actually delivers the question for me. I'm Blitz and Cross, and I'm here to answer the question, does the premise of Star Renegades work? So let's take a look at this piece by piece, and then how all of the pieces work together. First, the turn-based tactical gameplay. A little bit of mechanical explanation is required here. The way encounters work in this game is that your selected heroes are on the left in a formation against a formation of enemies on the right. Your heroes can select from various options that take different amounts of time. Heavy attacks take place later in the turn order, and light attacks take place earlier in the turn order, and then there are normal attacks in between. So if you attack an enemy before it attacks, then you get to crit that enemy. Crit means that you activate some extra effects and push back that enemy's turn. If you combine a lot of crits, then you can actually break an enemy and delay the turn entirely to the next round. Of course, if the enemy attacks first instead, it also gets to crit you. This is actually a rather engaging fundamental premise. I find myself coordinating attacks all the time in this game. In most games, I want to heal when I'm low on health, but actually maybe I don't in this game because I don't want to allow my opponent to make this huge AoE attack this turn, so my healer should attack instead of healing. A lot of minute tactical decisions like this one arise from the core gameplay. I think the tactical part of this game gets two things very right. One, the combat is deterministic. I think this is fantastic because one of the worst things about tactics games is critical hits and misses. It always seemed weird to me that games that tell you that they're rewarding you for your careful planning have these elements of randomness in them. But this game doesn't. It doesn't let you miss, and it replaces critical hits with very explicitly a mechanic where you attack first and break an enemy and delay its turn, and it even uses the name crit for this, which seems to me like the game is saying, hey no, look, we are deterministic exactly as you intend, exactly as you plan for. And in this same vein, the other thing that the encounters in this game get right is revealing where the enemies are going to attack, exactly when they will attack, what their attacks will do, and even what their weaknesses are. This is something that Into the Breach realized, hey, it's really fun when you know what the enemy is going to do, and you prepare cool tactics around it. The realization there was that information is fun. Not knowing is not as fun in a tactics game, because a tactics game is about making informed decisions and feeling rewarded for taking the time to think through things. With these two decisions, to have deterministic combat and to have the enemies reveal their attack patterns in advance, this game actually feels like a very rewarding tactics game. It's also fairly challenging, and that is usually the last piece of the puzzle that you need to have a really good tactics game. The entire time that I was playing this game, I really felt like my moves mattered in every single encounter, and that was really fun. So the tactics gameplay checks out. So how about the roguelite side of things? Well, every roguelite needs a reason to repeat the cycle, so to speak. In Rogue Legacy, it's that future generations are continuing your legacy. In Faster Than Light, it's because your ship is gone, and a new ship is starting the venture. In this game, it's because the whole galaxy is taken over by interdimensional aliens every time you lose, and this little robot goes back into a different reality where that hasn't happened yet, and leads the same venture with new heroes. The robot carries intel that it's learned about the aliens' movements back through time, so every time you can equip yourself a little better with new heroes or new abilities. You lose your levels and gold every time you're defeated, along with an assortment of other stuff. Now, you don't have a lot of options for building characters in a single run, which can take up to 10 hours. You can distribute experience, but there's no skill tree, you just kind of get whatever skills you get at whichever level you get it. The one thing that you can do, however, is unlock new heroes and perks between runs. There are two currencies that stay consistent between runs, even though you lose all your other stuff. With one of these currencies, you can actually unlock additional heroes, and you can unlock even more additional ones by having your companions bond over campfires and having children. by advancing their relationship far enough during a run. So I think the basic premise of the roguelite concept here is compelling, and I also think that it feels rewarding when you go between runs and you can unlock new heroes and new perks. It makes subsequent runs much easier and makes you feel like you're progressing throughout the game between runs. I like it, it's good, it's very solid. So we also have a solid roguelite. So do the two aspects work together? Well, yeah, they do actually. The thing is, it's very expensive to lose a run in this game. Losing in a single battle means that you've lost as many as 5 to 10 hours of game time. That is a long time, and you reset almost everything, including your relationship progress toward your next child unlock. So you're incentivized to not lose. And what does this mean? Well, in the tactics section, one thing that I didn't talk about is that you have a health and a shield bar for each character. You typically don't lose health unless you've lost all your shield. Your health does not regenerate over time, so you have to explicitly heal up at campfires or otherwise. But your shield, on the other hand, can be restored easily. There are abilities that explicitly restore it. You can regenerate shield over time with perks, and at the end of every encounter you get fresh shields all the way charged to full. And what this means is that you're incentivized to take as little damage from each individual encounter as possible. In minor encounters, you can't just attack indiscriminately and try to kill enemies as fast as possible. Sometimes that is the optimal strategy, but sometimes it's not. Instead, what you have to do is make plays that conserve your health the most. This frequently involves guarding or shielding an ally or healing or any amount of other tactics. So the roguelite concept here actually gives meaning to health conservation, and this in turn makes the tactics more engaging. So yeah, this combination works really well. I think that Massive Damage did an amazing job with this game. They absolutely knocked it out of the park in terms of combining two evolving genres. They took trends in two different genres. They took the trend in roguelites of extending the gameplay and building and unlocking new heroes, and they took the trend of knowing what your enemy is going to do in advance in tactics games, and they combined them in a way that's really intuitive and meaningful and fun. But you might have noticed one thing, that I didn't mention the Nemesis system yet, even though that was part of the original question. Well, there's actually good reason for that, because this is where the game falls short for me. So what is the Nemesis system? Well, it is a system that was created for the game Shadows of Mordor, where enemies have names and personalities, and they remember you and grow stronger as you grow stronger, so that you can create little rivalries and stories. Well, this game attempts to do that. The enemies sort of remember you, they can be promoted to different ranks whenever they beat you, and they travel from dimension to thwart you. It sounds compelling in theory, but unfortunately this ends up being one of the weakest parts of the game, for two reasons. One, these enemies have randomly generated weaknesses and aren't really that memorable as a result. And two, and this is kind of a larger issue, although there are some good comedy moments in this game, the world building and the writing is really bare bones, and every line of dialogue almost seems dismissive of the very intense atmosphere that the game's premise sort of promises. This game is clearly a game that focuses on mechanics and art, and as such the story seems like an afterthought. The Nemesis system is unfortunately a victim of the underemphasis on the story. So does the blend of concepts in Star Renegades work? I'd say yes, and I'd also say no. The roguelite and tactical elements work together seamlessly, and I love the game for those. The Nemesis system, not so much, but it has less to do with the combination and more to do with the quality of the story. It's overall a good game though, and if you can overlook some of its rougher edges, especially around the story and atmosphere, it does offer some immersive gameplay and a few lessons on how to effectively combine different emerging trends across genres. I'm Blitzncross, signing out for today. Thank you very much for watching.